When we watch celebrities grow up in the spotlight, we witness their love stories unfold in real time. But what happens when one person seems to transform completely between relationships? This is the fascinating case of Justin Bieber, a pop icon whose behavior, affection, and very presence shifted dramatically between his two most significant relationships. The stark contrast between the Justin who loved Selena Gomez and the Justin who married Hailey Baldwin raises profound questions about love, identity, and whether we're truly the same person in different relationships. Let's explore the evidence that has fans and observers alike wondering, what happened to the old Justin Bieber? The Gelina era began in the early 2010s, when teenage heartthrob Justin Bieber first connected with Disney star Selena Gomez. Before they even officially met, they were already speaking about each other in interviews, Justin calling Selena a cutie, while Selena responded with shy giggles about him being so cute. From the beginning, their chemistry was palpable. Their first public appearance together at the 2011 Vanity Fair Oscar party showed a Justin who couldn't stop beaming, holding Selena's hand like she was the most precious thing in his universe. Photographers captured countless moments of him gazing at her with undisguised adoration, seemingly oblivious to the flashing cameras. What made Justin's behavior with Selena so notable was his willingness to make grand, public gestures of love. In 2011, he famously rented out the entire Staples Center arena just so they could watch Titanic together in private. This wasn't just an extravagant date, it was a statement. Selena was worth moving mountains for. She later called it one of the sweetest things anyone had ever done for her. At basketball games, paparazzi caught him mid-kiss with her, completely unconcerned about who might be watching. He was all in, unguarded, and unafraid to show the world how much she meant to him. The Jelena years weren't smooth sailing. They broke up in 2012, reconciled, then separated again in 2014, beginning a years-long on-again, off-again saga that captured public attention. But even during their off periods, Justin's actions toward Selena maintained a certain tenderness. In 2015, witnesses at a Beverly Hills hotel bar saw him perform My Girl, specifically for her. Observers described how nervous he looked, singing every note as if trying to win her back, while Selena smiled and blushed. This wasn't the behavior of someone who had moved on. It was a man still deeply affected by his first love. Justin's music during this era tells its own story. His 2015 album Purpose was filled with songs widely believed to be about Selena, raw, emotional tracks like Sorry and Love Yourself that explored regret, longing, and unresolved feelings. He admitted in interviews that Selena was his first real love, a significant confession for a young star who could have downplayed the relationship's importance. His Instagram posts about her were practically love letters, including a 2014 black and white photo captioned with, "Our love is unconditional," a public declaration that left no room for doubt about his feelings. To be clear, the Jelena relationship wasn't perfect. Justin was going through a turbulent period, getting arrested for DUI in 2014, egging his neighbor's house, fighting with paparazzi, and generally spiraling. Selena later described experiencing certain abuse emotionally in the relationship. Yet even during this chaos, Justin's public treatment of Selena maintained a certain reverence. When they briefly reunited in 2017 after her kidney transplant, he was photographed biking to her house and bringing her coffee. Small but meaningful gestures of care during her health crisis. Their final split in 2018 seemed to mark the end of an era. Sources close to Justin described him as a wreck without her. He posted emotional statements on Instagram, and his public persona reflected someone going through profound heartbreak. The Justin of the Jelena years was messy and inconsistent, but his love for Selena, however imperfectly expressed, seemed to be a core part of his identity. The dramatic shift. Just weeks after his final breakup with Selena, Justin reconnected with model Hailey Baldwin. They had briefly dated in 2015 to 2016, but this time things accelerated at lightning speed. By July 2018, they were engaged, and by September, married. The whirlwind timing raised eyebrows, but more striking was the apparent transformation in Justin's demeanor and behavior. A Justin who emerged in the Hailey era appeared markedly different from the passionate young man who had been head over heels for Selena. At public appearances, he often seemed distant or distracted. Paparazzi frequently captured him walking ahead of Hailey on LA streets, head down, while she trailed behind. A stark contrast to how he had physically oriented himself towards Selena, always keeping her close, always engaged. Several incidents caught on camera fueled public perception of this change. In 2020, Justin was filmed shutting a car door while Hailey was still getting out. A small moment, perhaps, but one that suggested a lack of attentiveness that the Justin of the Selena era rarely displayed. At the 2021 Met Gala, when fans began chanting Selena, cameras caught Justin's irritated expression, while Hailey appeared visibly upset. Yet he offered no visible comfort or support, continuing to walk without putting an arm around her or acknowledging her discomfort. Another telling moment came in 2020 after Hailey beat Justin at an arcade game. Video showed him raising his voice at her, possibly in jest, but with an intensity that made onlookers uncomfortable. She stood silently, absorbing his reaction. In 2021, another video emerged showing Justin apparently yelling at Hailey in Vegas, gesticulating wildly while she maintained a calm exterior. These public moments of tension carried a different energy than the conflicts of the Gelina era, which typically played out online rather than in person. Justin's social media behavior reflects this shift as well. His initial announcement of their engagement in 2018 featured a gushing caption declaring his love for Hailey, but over time, his posts about her became less frequent and less effusive. By 2023, their fifth anniversary pictures felt more like documentation of a milestone than expressions of deep personal sentiment. The contrast with his Selena-era posting is striking. Where once he shared raw emotional declarations, with Hailey, he seems more reserved, less forthcoming with public affection. Cryptic Instagram stories that many interpreted as responses to his ex's happiness. Meanwhile, Hailey was by his side, raising their child, receiving none of the public adoration he once showered on Selena. His music production slowed, with no new romantic anthems celebrating his wife and growing family. So what explains this stark contrast in Justin's behavior between relationships? Several theories emerge. The most straightforward is timing and maturity. Justin was barely out of childhood when he fell for Selena. 17, 18, 19 years old, experiencing first love with all its intensity and drama. The grand gestures, the public declarations, the emotional roller coaster all align with young love's passionate nature. With Hailey, he was 24 when they married, having weathered years of public scrutiny, mental health struggles, and spiritual awakening. In a 2019 Vogue interview, he mentioned practicing celibacy when reconnecting with Hailey, framing their relationship as part of his journey toward peace and faith, rather than passionate romance. Another possible factor is the nature of the relationships themselves. With Selena, Justin was chasing and being chased in an on-again, off-again dynamic that kept desire perpetually fresh. The relationship was defined by yearning and reconciliation, emotional states that naturally produce more demonstrative behavior. With Hailey, he quickly moved into marriage, a state of presumed permanence that might not generate the same urgency to prove one's love daily. Some observers point to guilt as a significant factor. Though Hailey stated on the Call Her Daddy podcast in 2022 that there was no overlap with Selena, the timeline of Justin's transition between relationships was remarkably compressed. If he hadn't fully processed his feelings for Selena before committing to Hailey, this emotional hangover might explain his apparent emotional distance, either punishing himself or unconsciously resenting the relationship that came too soon. Grand gestures and public devotion, Hailey often seems to get a more muted version of Justin, physically present but sometimes emotionally distant. The man who once would have moved mountains for love now sometimes can't be bothered, to hold a door open, or offer comfort during uncomfortable moments. The Justin Bieber story reminds us that we are not always the same person in different relationships. Circumstances change us. Experiences transform us. The passionate teenager who loved Selena Gomez with reckless abandon evolved into the more subdued young man who married Hailey Baldwin. Whether this transformation represents growth or loss depends entirely on perspective. But the contrast between these two versions of Justin offers a fascinating window into how love shapes us, changes us, and sometimes leaves parts of us behind when it ends. For fans who grew up watching Gelina's romance unfold, the current version of Justin might seem like a pale imitation of the boy who once rented out stadiums for a movie date. For those who value stability over grand gestures, perhaps Justin's evolution represents necessary maturation. Either way, the tale of Justin Bieber's two loves stands as one of celebrity culture's most compelling case studies in how differently one person can show up in relationships that define different chapters of their life.